NBA Commissioner Adam Silver stepped in and fired the WNBA top executive after a string of tone-deaf comments and behind-the-scenes dysfunction came to a head. The final straw: Engelbert's dismissive remarks about Caitlin Clark, arguably the most important player the league has ever had. Clark, whose arrival in the WNBA has ignited a media frenzy and revitalized public interest, has become the face of the league practically overnight. She's packing arenas, driving up ratings, and securing sponsorships most players could only dream of. Yet Engelbert, instead of treating her like the league's golden goose, shrugged off "are important" and publicly defended quick Annabelle officiating that left fans and players fuming. The message was clear: if you're here for the real story and not a filtered version, subscribe. And if you're sticking around for the next meltdown, you better definitely subscribe. The league was already protected own stars, and Silver was going to sit back and watch the WNBA implode on his watch. Behind closed doors, frustration had been building. Players were speaking out, coaches were calling for answers, fans were voicing their discontent louder than ever. Believes officiating was under fire. The physicality on the court was reaching dangerous levels, and Engelbert leadership felt increasingly disconnected from reality of what was unfolding. So, when she stood in front of media and insisted the league had the best ref in the world, it wasn't just bad PR moment, it was a delusional dismissal of everything that's been played in the league. Silver's in or mention wasn't just dramatic, it was surgical. He removed Engelbert not because of a single headline, but because of a pattern of behavior that threatened the WNBA financial momentum and its fragile credibility. Caitlin Clark isn't just a promising rookie, she's a revenue-generating machine, and ignoring her value was a reckless game. Well, the league had one job: protect the asset, protect the product, and Engelbert failed publicly and spectacularly. Her firing isn't just about one misstep, it's about years of missed opportunities, broken communication, and a leadership style that alienated the very people with supposed elevate. Now with her exit, the league faces a pivotal choice: rebuild in the rubble or risk losing momentum there. Clark and a new generation stars have finally brought to the table. This wasn't just a fire, it was a message. Adam Silver is now watching an era of unchecked incompetence at the top of the WNBA might finally be the over. Adam Silver just fired Cathy Engelbert for speaking out against Caitlin Clark. Yeah, you heard that right. The WNBA commissioner got the boot not for behind-the-scenes scandals or shady dealings, but for underestimating the one person holding the lead to get right now. And if that sound wild to you, buckle up big, cause his drama isn't just about one person getting fired. It's about elite teetering on the edge, struggling to keep up with own rising stars. This all blew up because Engelbert couldn't or wouldn't recognize what was staring her face. Caitlin Clark isn't just another rookie, she's a reason people are tuning in, the reason the WNBA is having a moment, the reason jerseys flying off shelves and broadcasts are hitting record numbers. And yet, in a moment where the league should have rallied around her, protected her, and elevated her, Cathy Engelbert downplayed her impact, dismissed or value, brushed off concerns like they were overblown media fluff. That was the beginning of the and let 3 win from months. There's been this growing tension inside the WNBA, players frustrated with leadership, fans angry at the officiating, coaches calling out inconsistency. It's been brewing the background, but Clark's arrival threw gas on a fire because suddenly the spotlight got a lot brighter. Every bad call, every injury-inducing foul, every cold corporate response all got magnified, and the league's leadership crumbled under the pressure. Instead of addressing a head-on, Engelbert made it worse. When players were voicing concerns about safety and integrity, she insisted the league had the best refs in the world. When coaches were questioning physical play, she doubled down. When fans are pointing out that the rules seemed to change when Clark was on the court, she stayed silent, or worse, dismissive. And then came the comments, the ones that finally pushed this whole thing off the ledge. Shores saying Gilbert publicly minimized Caitlin Clark's importance is century, framing her as overhyped and implying that the media frenzy around her was doing more harm than good. Not only did this alienate fans, it made star players and Clark herself feel unsupported at a time when the WNBA should have been rolling out the red carpet. The commissioner was acting like Clark was just another name on the roster. You don't alienate your golden goose and expect to keep your job behind the scenes and be a commissioner. Adam Silver had been watching closely. Let's not forget the WNBA operates on the NBA. His Umbrella and Silver. He knows a financial liability when he's won. Ratings were up, but only when Clark played sponsorship for climbing, but tied directly to her image, and yet league leadership was squandered the moment, letting internal chaos and mismanagement overshadow a breakout star. That's when Silver stepped in. He made the call to remove Engelbert, officially citing leadership misalignment and long-term vision concerns. But let's be real, it was about Caitlin Clark, about her not being protected, not being prioritized, and not being treated like the once-in-a-generation talent she is. Silver knew the league couldn't afford a loser or risk or walking away due to injury or burnout. It wasn't just one bad comment, it was a pattern Engelbert had failed to build trust with. Players, coaches weren't backing her, fans were calling for her removal. Even casual viewers saw the disconnect. Her refusal to take officiating seriously was a final straw, because when your top talent is getting shoved, hacked in foul with no calls, and a commissioner response is to praise the referees, you're not doing your job. The officiating situation had become a circus. Fans were watching replays of obvious fouls being ignored. Players were venting to the media. Clark herself had taken multiple brutal hits, some of them potentially career-altering, and yet the whistle barely moved, and Engelbert claimed everything was fine. Claim to leave was being unfairly scrutinized, as if the real issue with public perception, not actual gameplay. Silver saw through it. He understood that if Clark got hurt, it wouldn't just be a tragedy, it would be a business disaster. TV deals, sponsorships, ticket sales, they're all tied. Now she's a phase in the league whether people like it or not, and that kind of investment needs protection. Engelbert wasn't willing to provide that, so she was out. Let's not sugarcoat it. This was a brutal takedown. A high-level firing meant to send a clear message: no one is untouchable, especially when you're standing in a way of progress. And while some may argue that the commission retry be fair or avoid playing favorites, the reality is that ignoring your top star isn't neutral, it's negligent. And now the league is in damage control mode. Clark continues to draw a massive crowds and dominate headlines, but the non-Clark games ratings are slipping. Fan engagement is down. Viewers are frustrated with what feels like inconsistent officiating and lead politics. And the core problem remains a massive disconnect between leadership and the players. It's not just about Clark, it's about a pattern of dismissiveness, a culture where legitimate concerns are brushed aside, where athletes don't feel heard, where the product on the court suffers because no one's willing to admit the system is broken. Silver's decision wasn't just about saving face, it was about survival. The league is standing at a crossroads: keep ignoring the red flags or do the hard work to rebuild from the top down. Rebuild trust, reform officiating, prioritize communication, treat players as partners, not PR obstacles, and most importantly, stop underestimate the value of star power, because Caitlin Clark isn't just a good player, she's the engine, the growth, the buzz, the revenue. And when your commission doesn't see that you replace them, the next hire will be crucial. They'll need to be visible, responsive, and ready to listen. They'll need to treat players like the ass they are, not just branding, but for the integrity of the game. They'll need to fix the officiating mess fast, and they'll need to rebuild credibility, not with corporate sponsors, but with fans, because fans aren't stupid. They saw it happen. They saw Clark getting hammered every game with zero protection. They saw Engelbert pretend it wasn't happening, and now they're watching closely to see what changes as. And for what it's worth, the league can turn this around. The audience there, the talent is undeniable, the momentum is real, but only of the people of the top. Stop pretending everything's fine. This wasn't as a firing, it was a wake-up call. So let this be new era, one where players are protected now, not punished, where officiating is consistent, not chaotic, and where leadership actually listens instead of talking over everyone, because league doesn't survive without its stars, and it doesn't grow without its fans. Cathy Engelbert learned that the hard way. Now it's your turn. What do you think? Did Adams make the right call, or was Engelbert unfairly blamed for deeper problems? Should lead prioritize star power or focus on broader competition? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And if you are more behind the scenes chaos, power struggles, and corporate drama, hit the subscribe button, because his meltdown, it's only the beginning. Here's the thing no one in WNBA leadership wanted to admit out loud: this league was not ready for Caitlin Clark. Sure, they said the right things and press releases, they smiled at the photo ops, but behind the scenes panic, because clocked into spring eyeballs. She brought expectations for professionalism, for fair treatment, for carbon official eating, and for a lead that doesn't eat its own stars alive. Cathy Engelbert didn't rise to that challenge. She buried under corporate talk and empty reassurances, and when the pressure hit peak, she picked the worst possible hill die on, downplaying the very person keeping the lights on. That's not as bad optics. That's career suicide. Let's talk numbers, because for all the talk about team bounds and grown the whole league, the reality is brutally simple. Caitlin Clark is a reason people are watching. Rating for her games sky high, social media engagement off the charts, sponsorship interest through the roof. Meanwhile, games without or limping along in the low hundreds of thousands. That's not parity. That's a clear sign of the draw. And yet Engelbert treated Clark like a PR inconvenience. She seemed more concerned about not offending veteran players and protecting the rookie, who was literally dragging the league into the spotlight. Instead of elevating her, Engelbert downplayed her impact. Instead of rallying around her, she acted like Clark was a problem to contain. Let's call that what it is: insecurity. The league's old guard both, and for an office on the court, wasn't ready to share the stage, and Engelbert, instead of leading through that tension, let it fester. That's why this became more than just a firing. This was an intervention. Adam Silver didn't step in because of a one-off interview or a viral quote. He stepped in because Engelbert was playing checkers in a chess game. He saw the stakes. He saw the media deals hanging by a thread. He saw the risk of a fractured league with fans turning away because no one in charge you get their act together. And most importantly, he saw Caitlin Clark getting battered every other game, and the commissioner treating it like business as usual. The officiating disaster is a whole saga on its own. It became painfully clear that the refs either weren't prepared for Clarksdale-style play or actively letting the physicalities slide. Elbows, body checks, shows, you name it, and caused sporadic at best. Fans, we're watching highlight clips that look more like football and basketball, and all Engelbert could say was, "We got the best ref in the world." That quote alone could have ended her tenure. It was a cop-out-of-touch comment that makes people wonder if leadership is even watching the games while fans were screaming online, while coaches were issued veiled jabs in press conferences, and while players were getting visibly frustrated on the court. Engelbert doubled down on a narrative no one believed, that when trust broke, and in a league like the WNBA where visibility and trust are everything, there's no coming back from that. And let's be honest, the fans didn't exactly feel supported either. They saw their favorite player getting dragged the ground game after game, and no one from the top doing a damn thing. No statements, no warnings, no reforms, just the same cold press responses and vague promises that things were being monitored. But fans, though, and be pacified. They want action, and Silver knew it. That's why Engelbert had to go, not just for Clark, but for the league's survival. The WNBA has momentum right now, but it's fragile. The wrong leadership could kill it. And wedding, but fail to grasp, is that leadership isn't about controlling the narrative. It's about to earning trust. That trust gone. So where does the league go from here? First, fix the officiating. No more empty praise, no more brushing things under the rug. The next commissioner has to come in and immediately overhaul the refereeing system, hire more experienced officials, employment training for player safety, introduce real accountability. Because until the games are called fairly, and take the product seriously. Second, put players first, not just with hashtags and brand and campaigns, but in practice. That means protecting rookies, valuing veterans, listening to coaches, and not punishing players who speak out. Right now, there's a real sense that criticism is being silent and concerns are being ignored that end with new leadership, or the league loses even more fans. Third, stop fearing star power, embrace it. Caitlin Clark is not a threat to the league's balance. She's reasons even on the map right now. The idea that spotlighting her somehow diminishes the league credibility is not only wrong, it's self-sabotage. Clark brings attention, revenue, and growth that helps everyone. The irony: Engelbert could have owned this moment. She had every opportunity to ride the wave and elevate the whole league. She could have made Clark the centerpiece while also lifting of other stars, but she chose The opposite, he downplayed, dismissed, and ultimately dismantled the Google Clark had generated. Now she's gone, and the league is staring at a massive opportunity, or a massive cliff, because make no mistake, in the WNBA can course correct. The backlash will be brutal. Fans are already skeptical. The media is circling, and Clark herself, she's a professional, but no one want to feel like a punching bag. No support if this pattern continues. Don't be shocked if she checks out mentally or physically, and if there happens, good luck selling season tickets. This moment demands leadership with vision, someone who isn't afraid to make real changes, someone who doesn't hide behind press statement but steps onto the court, listens to the players, and acts. The new commission has the show fans that this league isn't just riding on a moment. It's building something lasting, because it's not just about one player, it's about whether the WNBA can grow up and handle success. The league has the talent, the audience is finally here, the momentum is real. But momentum dies without direction, and Engelbert, she had none. She led like it was still 2016, like the league was small enough to control with corporate platitude and internal spin. But this is a new era, one where every misstep gets clipped and shared, where fans demand transparency, and where ignoring your biggest asset means losing everything. Silver made the right call, the hard call, and now the WNBA has a shot to actually grow, to become more than just a moment in time. So to all the fans who stuck to the chaos, who watch clog it felt like it a contact sport, who scream into void while the league gaslit them with best refs in the world speeches, this one's for you. The chaos was real. The frustration was justified, and finally someone at the top listened. The houses and clean yet, but the doors open. Your move, the WNBA had a blueprint for success sitting right in front of them. Caitlin Clark came into the league with everything you dream of in a breakout star, record-breaking car, his career, a rabid fan base, crossover appeal, and a whole new audience ready to invest in women's basketball. This wasn't subtle momentum. This was a tidal wave, and somehow league leadership decided to swim against it. Cathy Engelbert didn't just mishandle the Caitlin Clark situation, she misunderstood the mom. And entirely, she seemed to think this was business as usual, like Clark was just another rookie who needed to be humbled, like the sudden boom in ratings, ticket sales, and press attention was just a fluke. That mindset is how you squander opportunity. That's how you alienate fans. That's how you lose your job. It wasn't about favorite, isn't it? Was about common sense. When entire sports world is talking about when your players on a daily basis, you don't try to downplay, you capitalize on it. You don't shrug off concerns about safety or call our fans for being too reactive. You listen, you respond, you lead. Engelbert didn't know of that, and while she clung to the illusionist ability, the cracks got deeper, coaches got louder, players got bolder, and the fans, they stopped pretending everything was fine. Because it wasn't. Every time clock to the cord and got thrown around like a rag doll without a whistle. It confirmed what people feared, that the league didn't know how to handle its biggest asset, that it didn't want to protect her, and worse than it might resent her. There were whispers of the league was uncomfortable with how fast Clark's star rose, that some players felt overshadowed, that leadership worried too much attention on one player would cause a backlash. But here's the problem. You don't manage a breakout moment by dimming the light, you manage it by building a bigger stage. Instead, Engelbert stuck to the playbook. She tried control the narrative instead of adapting to it. She treated the controversy like noise instead of signal, and in doing so she lost the one thing no commissioner for. Lose confidence when players don't trust leadership. It shows when fans stop believing in the integrity the product it shows, and when sponsors start questioning whether this league knows what he's doing. That definitely shows. Adam Silver didn't fire Cathy Engelbert because he wanted drama. He did it because WNBA was one or two bad headlines away from unraveling. The optic for getting worse by the week it started. Look at the league was hostile toward the very fans and players who are fueling its rise. And that's not as bad PR, that brand erosion, that's long-term damage, and frankly, Engelbert should have seen it coming. She had years to build trust, to modernize operations, to create a league culture that welcomed accountability. But when it mattered most, she defaulted the corporate spin and flat denials. She minimized officiating issues, she ignored the public outcry, and she gassed the fan base by insisting that the problem with perception, not reality. Spoiler, it was reality. There was a problem with the ref. There was a growing divide between leadership and players. There was a lack of protection for stars like Clark, and no amount of press releases we are gonna hide that anymore. In the end, Engelbert wasn't fired because one mistake. She was fired because you refused to evolve. Now the pressure is on a league to prove this wasn't just a symbolic move. The next commission